Hey Luke, what's the most prestigious movie award ceremony?
Well, I think it'd have to be the. And I'm trying to think of a shitty award, but I think
The 420 Awards.
that's it. Yeah, the 420 awards. There we go.
Well, guess what, you idiot? We're going to be talking about the Golden Globes. They've released their nominations, and the main thing that stands out is that Barbie leads for the nominations with 9 nominations, followed closely by Oppenheimer. So clearly they're playing to the normies with their Barbenheimer enthusiasm. What do you think of that?
Well, I've talked about this a bit before.
Yes.
Like, Oppenheimer is one of the best movies of the year. That's not a surprise. People liked it, and also it was incredible. Barbie, though, it's just okay. Yeah, that is a pick that I can guarantee. If there hadn't been this Barbenheimer thing, if it hadn't grossed 1.4 billion, yeah, I don't think this would have been picked.
Are you saying they wouldn't have picked it just based on its quality alone?
Yeah, 9 nominations. Did you say?
Yeah, it doesn't spell out what the different nominations are for. Obviously,
Maybe
it got nominated for Best Comedy.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that, but like 9, maybe one of the nominations was movie with the most pink in it. You know?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, that would make sense.
Hello, and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Luke. And this week, we are celebrating the release of Aquaman, The Fallen Kingdom, is that what it's called? Probably. By looking at, not Aquaman, because we've actually already reviewed that, but instead another movie in the DCEU, a relatively recent movie, and that is The Flash. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about The Flash?
Yes, Michael, of course. Aquaman The Lost Kingdom, the last ever DCEU movie. Can you believe it? What a ride we've been on.
Yeah.
is coming out soon. What a way to end. So we're talking about the movie, the most recent DCEU movie, The Flash, which of course came out this year. It is a 2023 American superhero film based on the DC Comics character of the same name, produced by Warner Brothers with their great track record.
Yes.
It was directed by Andy Muschietti. The screenplay was by Christina Hodson, although it was actually by a bunch of people, not just her, which we'll get into. Maybe perhaps explaining why this movie failed. The movie stars Ezra Miller, Sasha Calle, Michael Shannon, Ron Livingston, Maribel Verdú, Kingsley Clemens, Auntie Trau. That's an unusual name, but there you go. She's German. There we go. So it's Trau and Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton back in a DC movie.
Yeah, back in a superhero role.
Oh wow, that'll bring in all the money at the box office, won't it?
Wow, yeah.
So the release date was June the 16th, 2023 in the United States. Of course, I think we had to review this movie because of its reputation. I wanted to do that. And of course, Aquaman: The Last Kingdom, the last ever DCEU movie, gives us maybe our last chance to actually select and reflect on this Flash movie, unless of course they reboot Flash in the future, which is going to be years from now. So Michael, can you guess what the budget was for The Flash?
Yeah, it was $200 million.
Yeah, it was 200 to 220.
Okay, see, I feel like often now with the DCEU movies, they're always like in that 200 million range because they just love spending money.
Yeah, again, this movie, its box office takings were infamous because of the budget it had. Same with the Marvels, of course, as well. Of course, the next question, Michael, is the box office. Do you know how much this made?
Right. Now, I don't really know about now. I know obviously you already did your whole oh, that sounds like a recipe for success, kind of a little bit sarcastic. I'm picking up on that stuff. And I feel like this movie probably didn't make that much money.
Wait, Michael, did you not hear any of the news about this being a box office bomb?
Well, look, Luke, at the end of the day, I think I'm right in saying that there were a lot of box office bombs in 2023, of which I am quite sure that The Flash is one.
Yes.
What I'm struggling with here, though, is how much of a bomb was it, I guess. So I already knew it was a bomb. I'm just trying to think, is this a situation where, when you factor in marketing, it didn't make the money back? Or did it even make less than 200 million? But I guess I'm going to go for 250 million.
That is a great guess, Michael. Well done.
Oh, well done, me.
Well done, yeah. So the actual box office total was 270, which is a bit better than your guess, but of course it is still so far off from what this movie I think Warner Brothers would have wanted to make. Of course, if you factor in marketing, you're probably looking at this movie needing 450 million to break even. So yeah, this is a all-time loss of hundreds of millions of dollars perhaps. Anyway, Michael, so the audiences didn't like it, but the question is, did you like The Flash?
You know what, Luke? In a really weird way, I didn't hate this movie that much. Essentially, obviously the thing is, with the whole DCEU thing, the entire universe is a disaster, such that I'm not really invested in anything going on. So even if this movie had been incredible, I wouldn't really care about it. But I kind of found it after, I think when he starts going back in time, I was like, okay, this is fine. I thought the beginning was like very bad, but once it got to the he was going back in time, I was surprised at how little I disliked it. I can't really say I enjoyed it because I'm just not at all invested in any of this. Essentially, the beginning was bad, and once I got into time travel stuff, I was just like, okay, this is interesting enough to be like entertaining, but again with the caveat that I don't really care about the franchise. However, it's surprising because I was expecting to be like, oh my god, this is just wall-to-wall terrible. And I was like, I think like part of it is like superhero movies have got so weird now with like the multiverses and the different timelines and all that kind of stuff that I'm sort of just like, I'm numb to it. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's it. Yeah, they're all back now. And oh, look, he's arguing with a different version of himself and all that kind of stuff. Maybe the movie broke me. But yeah, again, I was expecting to be like, oh, it's just terrible. And I actually didn't think that. I was just like, yeah, this is the movie. What did you think?
Well, I can understand what you mean. Kind of inversely, I like the start more, and because I found it, just kind of not awful, almost good.
The start's a bit more day in the life, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just kind of casual, and then they start, introducing time travel stuff and the multiverse stuff, and I just was very annoyed by it all because it didn't make sense.
Yeah, so like I think I looked into like a few other people's thoughts on it, as I sometimes do, so I can steal their ideas. No, that's not really. But yeah, one thing I did notice is that people were pointing out that there's a lot of stuff. Like, and again, I think this is an example of where like the fact that the DCEU makes no sense means I don't really care, because obviously with the MCU, they actually put some effort into like the world building, and when they start introducing like the time travel and the multiverse and all that kind of stuff, there's a logic to it. Like they had all the time setting up Doctor Strange and blah blah blah. Whereas in this movie, it's literally just he starts running fast and he's like, oh yeah, okay, I can go back in time now.
Yes, and
so it's like the fact they don't give a shit about like setting up any of this stuff is crazy.
We'll get into the chromo thing or whatever. That's and so all of that kind of stuff, all the time travel stuff, all the chromo bollocks, like all the multiverse angle, it was just very annoying. And of course, you have another Barry Allen who's even more annoying than the original Barry Allen, which we'll get into as well.
Yeah, I will say my hot take on the Barry Allen thing is I do think that he's slightly less annoying in this movie because the movie itself is so dumb, if that makes sense. So
yeah, well, look, you're making this point over and over again about how like the movie is dumb, how you don't care about the DCEU, and that's why you're kind of fine with it. And I agree. Like, I wasn't watching this movie like raging. It's like, oh, how could they ruin this DCEU?
Didn't you want to see Zack Snyder's version? Because you've been very invested in his original vision for the DCEU.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I didn't. I don't care about this, and Warner Brothers don't, because they're binning this whole thing.
Yeah, that is really funny.
So I didn't care. I was just like, it was like I was rolling my eyes rather than like raging, And,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and who cares if this movie's bad? Who cares? Like, nobody really cares. But it's just this had I guess there is some frustration from my point of view, because it had a nice start. I feel like I think it had a nice start, and then it just went in this direction which it had to go in, because you have to every movie has to, or every superhero movie, and even some non-superhero movies, have to be about this multiverse. You have to get all these cameos from all these other, Supermans and Batmans, which we'll talk about, of course. And it just...
I think like there is, the one thing that very much annoys me, I mean, there are a few things, but like I continue to be annoyed by the DCU's like, I guess pathetic is the only word for it, like mimicry of the MCU.
Yes,
and it just makes it so much more embarrassing.
Yeah, it's pathetic mimicry, but also there's another thing on top of that, which is it done well? I think you look at Spider-Man No Way Home, that was the third one, right? Yep.
Yes.
and I can understand what's going on. And I think in general it makes sense. There's just the timeline stuff just makes no sense, and I have a real issue with it. And I just couldn't stop just like every time they go in that chromo thing. I'll just say this: how does changing a specific point in time then change the past? Michael Keaton does that thing with the spaghetti. Oh, it's like a fulcrum. No, it's not like a fulcrum. That doesn't make any sense. And you've just used that this explanation to justify why now Michael Keaton's in this movie.
Yeah, like basically they couldn't be bothered to come up with like something that would make sense for Barry to want to do that would be far enough back in time to change the things they wanted to change.
Yes.
And of course, yeah, like when you think about it for a second, you're like, well, hold on a minute. If it changes, like, think about the like 13 billion years that like space-time existed before human beings showed up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're changing those 13 billion years, there's like no way that humans even end up existing.
Yes, exactly. Like it's such a wild deviation from just a little change, and it's such a massive deviation, and the deviation happens again before this incident occurred. It doesn't make sense, and Michael Keaton does that. with the two spaghetti pieces. Oh, it's like a fulcrum now. Like, oh, you changed. You changed the future, but you also changed the past. It's like, no, how? I don't know. Like, you can say time isn't linear, but, that time is linear from, like, our perspective. We don't go back in time. Like, we can't, like, unless, of course, you're in the movie Tenet, featuring Christopher Nolan.
Yes.
Like, you don't go back through time like that. You always go forward in time. Even when you time travel backwards, then you start going forward in time. So yeah, like again, Tenet is the only movie I've seen, the only media property where somebody is actually like traveling back through time and things are happening backwards. Yeah, and again, that would make sense if you'd have to incorporate that for this explanation, to this fulcrum explanation, to make sense. Again, we're getting really into this time travel thing, but I just want to illustrate why, again, this whole concept of this movie from the get-go is flawed, and which again does annoy me. Maybe it doesn't really annoy me like I let on, but it's just
yeah,
god. And then of course you have the whole plot, which again isn't that interesting really, is it? It's not really that interesting. They have to stop Zod, and they assemble this weird Justice League, and they can't do it. And then Barry decides, you know what, fine, I'm gonna go back and make sure my mother dies, and I'm gonna I'm not gonna fix time, but then I'm actually gonna kind of fix time. Actually, I'm not gonna change time. I'm gonna kind of change it anyway. Again, that's not even getting into the two Barry Allens, which we'll talk about. But anyway, Michael, do you have any nitpicks?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I have 3.
Okay, you go on. Tell me them.
Yes. Oh, actually, one of them was a lit pick, and it was a pretty stupid one, to be honest. I don't really know why I bothered writing it down. I just said that the kid looks convincingly like a young Ezra Miller. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about 18-year-old Ezra Miller, because I know that was Ezra Miller. But the kid in the flashback, I was like, yeah, that's Ezra Miller right there. But as for the real nitpicks, this is one. When he like tries all the commands on the code thing. Like, there's no way that would actually work, because he would have been doing it like faster than the computer's processing speed.
Stupid.
It was a funny line though, kind of, I guess. I was like, I don't know, whatever. And this is the other one. I didn't like realizing how long ago Man of Steel was, because obviously he goes back in time.
10 years.
Goes back in time, meets his younger self, and then obviously Man of Steel starts happening. And I'm like, oh wow, so is this like caused a timeline thing where Man of Steel's happening earlier? Because obviously Man of Steel, that was just a few years ago. And I was like, oh no, 2013 was 10 years ago. Holy shit, I hated that the movie made me realize that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I remember Man of Steel coming out, I didn't watch it. But yeah, that it's wild that was 10 years ago, and it's 10 years of basically a failure for Warner Brothers and the DCEU. 10 years of just awful movies, after awful movies. Like there's like 2 good movies in that stretch. Anyway, my nitpick is something to do outside of the movie. So on July the 15th, 2023, it was announced that The Flash would also be released on the non-fungible token NFT
good.
Alluvio blockchain, making it the first new release film to be released in a blockchain. And I can think of no better movie to be released on the NFT blockchain. That is this movie summed up very well. It's the first ever NFT movie. Great.
Yeah. Putting the Flash in NFT, I don't know. Like, I was trying to think of, there's got to be a good acronym there.
Yeah. Well, you can think of that. So let's get on to the plot now. So in the film, Barry travels back in time to prevent his mother's death, which unintentionally results in him being stranded in an alternate past. So Barry Allen becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod has returned and there are no superheroes to turn to. In order to save the world that he is in and return to the future that he knows, Barry's only hope is to race for his life. But will making the ultimate sacrifice be enough to reset the universe?
What is this description from? Some illegitimate website?
Yeah, a very legitimate website.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it asks the question: will making the ultimate sacrifice be enough to reset the universe? Yes, it will. So there you go. That's that question answered. So yeah, the multiverse. I think, of course, we've talked about. It's an idea that's been worn out. You get all these different characters from these different franchises. And I think maybe DC got wind of what Marvel were doing. Of course, Spider-Man No Way Home was a massive hit. And I think it executed, the multiple universes, the multiple Peter Parkers very well. And yeah, I think that's why audiences loved it. Even if the movie itself wasn't that amazing, like what the audiences came for, all these multiple Peter Parkers interacting and them it making sense why they're in this universe, and it has satisfying payoffs. That all works. This does not work at all like that. Like Michael Keaton just dies over and over again, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it's fun. It's kind of fun to see him, just because obviously.
Is it fun to see him die over and over again?
No.
And the thing is, as soon as the multiverse is introduced and all the time travel stuff is introduced, I just think this movie starts to fall apart. And also, we have to mention this, and we haven't mentioned it yet. Another reason why I don't like this movie, and I think this is initially why this movie got clowned on a lot online, is because it looks really ugly. It looks really bad.
Yeah.
Some of the graphics are shocking.
I think I got used to it, because obviously one of the reasons why I felt this movie, like I kind of said towards the beginning, I was just like, is like that first scene of him running super fast is just so bad looking.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Terrible.
The Chromo Bowl is the worst. That looks the worst. And of course, we haven't mentioned it yet, but all the cameos from, well, we kind of have, all the cameos from all the other superheroes.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage's Superman. Oh, great. Then of course, you have the original Superman from the 1950s. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? And apparently, I think that actor. What was it like? Did he commit suicide because he wasn't happy with that role or something?
Oh, really? I don't know. I mean, obviously Christopher Reeves had his own little tragedy.
Yeah. I'm not talking about Christopher Reeves.
No, yeah. I know, because that was the one before. Yeah, I think there is a story about he had some kind of sad. Yeah. I guess Superman is kind of a curse. Well, hopefully Henry Cavill's doing all right.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, we compare it to, the Spider-Man No Way Home movie, and even Doctor Strange. Which had like Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. In the Flash, these like cameos are shoved in, like they are so shoved in, like they're the most shoved in cameos you're ever.
Yeah, like there's not even any logic to them.
Yeah,
like there's nothing. I don't know. It's just like, why are they doing that?
Yeah, so people can be.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I guess I get the reason, I suppose.
And if it doesn't serve any other plot function, then it just seems very tacky and pathetic, and that's what it is. And yeah, of course, as well as being tacky and pathetic, it looks very ugly. And this is why people didn't like the movie, and this is why I didn't like the movie. It's like, so many of the scenes are just ugly and they don't make sense. And then, the two Barry Allens are annoying. And yeah, it's just a recipe for scene after scene of just being frustrated and just being like, oh god, like this is just awful. And at the start, again, that was the part of the movie where there wasn't any of this bullshit, and that's why I liked it the best, essentially.
So like the start, the thing about the start is I do like the fact that we actually see a superhero kind of doing their alternative reality, alter ego, which we haven't seen really in any of the DCU movies, and to be fair, you don't see it apart from with Spider-Man in the MCU.
I will say, the start is actually, of course, it features Wonder Woman and Batman, but they're in that universe, so that makes sense. So that isn't a multiverse thing. And also, you could say, the scene where he saves the babies, it's a bit ugly, which we'll get onto. We'll get onto that scene where he saves the babies. But first, actually, I want to talk about the development of this movie, because this part of the reason why perhaps this movie didn't do so well is because the story of this movie is crazy. So, it initially was meant to come out on March the 23rd, 2018.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Ezra Miller was going to star, of course, Anyway, The Flash was delayed because of multiple script rewrites, and Ezra Miller was scheduled to be in the Fantastic Beasts movies too, of course.
Yes, those were successful.
And then, of course, it was delayed once again because of COVID. In May, Deadline Hollywood reported, I think this was May 2022, that a high-profile comic book movie that would be released the following year had its script recently submitted to the WGA, Writers Guild of America, having a total of how many writers involved throughout its development, Michael? Give us a guess.
13.
45.
Okay, well done.
Yeah, 13 wouldn't be that high, I feel like. Some commentators believe that the film was The Flash due to its lengthy development process, and I think that would be a safe guess. So, following several controversial incidents and arrests involving Miller in 2022, we have to talk about this, of course. Ezra Miller, has been involved in a lot of controversies, as everybody knows. And the question, of course, was from Warner Brothers' perspective, well, what do we do about this? So they had three options, for the film. After previously hoping delaying its release would help avoid controversy. So in August 2022, they, like I said, had three options. They wanted Miller to do an interview explaining their behavior and do limited press for the film, exclude Miller from all press of the film, and recast their characters in future projects.
Yeah, so this movie, even with everything else going on, they also had this to deal with.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yes.
Yeah.
And just the star of the movie just went haywire. There was abduction, he kept on popping up in
Yeah, it was like one of those, it was almost like a fucking Manson family.
Yeah, Ezra Miller was in Vermont. Ezra Miller was in Arizona. Ezra Miller was in Hawaii, just doing all this crazy shit. And, of course, a last resort, therefore, was to cancel the movie. However, of course, that would have been an unprecedented move due to its large budget, and it would have come after Warner Brothers already cancelled the nearly complete $90 million film Batgirl that was being produced for the streaming service HBO Max. Do you remember when they cancelled that?
Yes, I think I remember hearing people I feel like you mentioned it at some point as well.
Yes.
As a cold open or something, probably.
Yes. Warner Brothers was not considering recasting Miller's role in the film due to Miller portraying multiple characters and appearing in nearly every scene.
Yeah. This is a very Flash-centric movie.
I know. It'd be very hard to recast Ezra Miller. You'd have to just reshoot the whole movie. So it was also considered to be key for the studio's future DCEU plans, and had been received well during test screenings, despite Miller's legal troubles. Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav, who is the most hated man in Hollywood right now, I believe, he cancelled another TV show. Oh, no, sorry, movie. It was a Coyote. It was the Coyote movie.
Yeah, isn't this the guy who's it's something like he's cancelling movies for very cynical reasons? There's the whole tax write-off thing or something like that.
Yes.
That's what I've heard.
Yes, but he couldn't cancel this movie because the budget was so big. I guess that was his reasoning. He said, of course, they were committed to releasing it in theaters, and Miller released a public apology through their representative soon afterwards, and announced they were seeking professional treatment for complex mental health issues. Which is interesting because Barry Allen has a line in the movie where he says, "You should seek out a mental health professional."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Method.
Yeah, method acting. It's honestly crazy. Warner Brothers had to put up with this. The start of your movie. It's just I can't remember the last time this happened.
I know there's the whole thing about Kang.
Yes.
In MCU, the guy who plays him, I don't know his name.
It's Jonathan.
He did something dodgy.
Jonathan Majors has been accused of domestic violence, and in fact, his trial is going on right now. Of course, Michael, this movie was a box office bomb, like we said. We have to talk about this because it only grossed, I think, $270 million, $108 million in the US and Canada, and then $162 in other territories. It was considered one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Maybe they pulled back on the marketing when they realised it wasn't going to do so well.
But the issue is they just spent so much money on the CGI.
Yes. No, the CGI was meant to look that bad, Michael.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what the director said. Yeah. So
it's stylistically designed to be that way.
Yeah. It was an artistic choice for everything to look awful. So, because, the Flash is moving so fast, so everything just looks blurred and shit. Yeah. But then why did the scenes where the Flash isn't moving fast look so shit?
Just because, you know how he can vibrate his molecules,
yes.
Even though he's moving at normal speed.
Yes,
he can vibrate the molecules of other random objects that just happen to be the fantastical elements.
Okay, I see. So the poor box office opening was attributed to various controversies surrounding Ezra Miller, mixed word of mouth, competition from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Yeah, that movie was very successful, and early hype being unwarranted, and the imminent DCU reboot, the decline of superhero movies being labelled superhero fatigue, and critical reviews, which weren't great, were they? They were like, yeah, it got like 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, yeah, isn't good. So, yeah, I think, of course, Ezra Miller, when you're the star of your movie, has been involved in a lot of, illegal controversies. Well, that ain't great. And, yeah, the DCU rebooting, that ain't great. Then you had these viral clips of, like, The Flash on Twitter, and it just looked awful. That isn't great, and yeah, people aren't that interested in superhero movies anymore. I guess there is a superhero fatigue, so it seemed like the perfect storm, didn't it?
Well, the imperfect storm for DC, but no, yeah, I think there's lots of reasons why this failed, but it's kind of good, Like, I'm glad that we're at a point where, at least for some reason, pretty bad movies don't succeed. So well done. Hopefully, yeah. I'm sure when they try again, they'll make a great cinematic universe.
Yeah, I think that's my main takeaway from this. Performing poorly, it's audiences saw how shit this was, and again, you kind of said it was okay.
Yeah.
Again, I agree with the audiences, to be honest, because I'm looking at this thinking, yeah, this isn't good at all. This deserves to flop, and it did flop. So, I guess faith in humanity is kind of restored. And you consider just a month later, Oppenheimer was, released, which was very, very different to this movie in a lot of ways, and grossed like 4 times what this movie made. That is, and of course, I mentioned the comparison again because Warner Brothers, dropped Christopher Nolan, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
of course, they also had a massive hit in Barbie as well. So yeah, I don't think Warner Brothers had too bad a year because of Barbie. But yeah, it is. It's great to see, this movie fail. From my point of view, it is good to see it fail. Like, this movie should not succeed. This should not be the standard for big blockbusters, and it's good that audiences realize that. And of course, when you're rebooting that's the thing, they're rebooting the DCU. How badly is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom going to do at the box office?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Imagine if they suddenly made the best movie ever. That would be such a tragedy.
Well,
just make a really great movie out of spite.
I've already talked to you about this. Like, the early test screens for Aquaman weren't good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's why a trailer took so long to come out, because they were constantly like cutting it, I think, and like rejigging the movie to try to make it acceptable. I don't think this is going to be a good movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and I don't think it's going to gross a lot of money either, maybe even less than The Flash. And I think that's perhaps why you've not seen a lot of marketing for Aquaman. Like, I've seen barely nothing for it, because they know it's going to fail. Well, why put $100 million into marketing if we know it's going to fail anyway? Maybe that's what Warner Brothers are thinking. So do you want to get into the movie, Michael?
Yes, let's talk about it.
So Barry Allen is told by Bruce Wayne's butler, Alfred, to go to Gotham City, of course, because he's trying to save people at Gotham General Hospital. That's what he does first. And yeah, I think this is what you talked about right before that. Well, I'm not sure specifically this, but when Barry speeds up, there is just little sense of speed in this movie when he goes very fast. When the Flash is, he's flashing, whatever it's called, because it looks like he's running in slow motion, because his legs, they should be moving really quickly. And instead, it's the opposite. His legs are moving really slowly, like in slow motion. So where is the sense of speed there, Michael? Yeah, do you agree with that?
Yeah, like, I agree. Like, I don't think they do a good job communicating the speed in a way that feels satisfying. Yeah, like, and I agree with you. Like, it doesn't look like he's actually moving fast. They needed to come up with some way. I mean, obviously, like Silver Surfer in is it Silver Surfer? No, Quicksilver in the X-Men films. All the scenes with him are generally praised just because they actually do look kind of good. Clearly, it's possible to make super speed look interesting, but here they just didn't do it.
Well, they tried to do like a Quicksilver scene next, didn't they? With the infamous baby scene.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he's saving a bunch of babies, and he's going really fast. And I think Jay from Red Letter Media, he said this wasn't that bad a scene, and I have to agree with him because the baby looks awful, or the babies, sorry, they look awful with their CGI, and perhaps it is better than being real life babies, but it is kind of a light-hearted, scene in the context of the movie. The major problem is just it looks quite ugly whenever the Flash is going super speed. And that is, I think, the problem. But I didn't really have a problem with the baby scene in general, because do you remember when The Flash came out? Actually, there was a viral clip that went viral on Twitter, where when he takes the baby out of the microwave.
Yes, it was him putting it back in or something.
Yeah, he put the baby back into the microwave. Of course, somebody shot that and then put it in reverse. And
yes.
Everyone's like, wait, why is the Flash putting a baby in a microwave? Yeah, people were just very keen to clown on this movie. But yeah, what do you think of the baby scene, Michael?
No, I don't really have anything to say. I
Okay.
just think it looked bad.
Yeah, fair enough. So Barry helps Batman and Wonder Woman stop a robbery in Gotham City. Afterwards, so Ben Affleck as Batman, he's doing his thing and it's fine. And the best action sequence of the movie is probably Batman. I think his suit looks really weird because it's in normal lighting. That Batman suit is not meant to be seen unless it's very dark. But then we have Ben Affleck as Batman. That's one cameo, and then we have another cameo, which is Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot returns, and this might be the worst. This cameo might be the worst thing I've ever seen. Because look, Gal Gadot can't act, and she has just no charisma. And I appreciate she wasn't on the same set as Ben Affleck and Ezra Miller, but it's still it's so stilted. You see her, and the Wonder Woman music appears, it's and she just goes,
I do like that music.
Yeah, it's good music, but it's just it's epic music, and then you just contrast that with Gal Gadot's acting. It's just,
hello,
sorry, I'm
it's
late.
me.
Sorry, I'm late. That's what she says. It's just very understated, and then glad to help, and then she leaves. It's so bad.
I think you should have a movie where just every single character is really cool intro music, and then they're just terrible.
Yes, that is
the acting.
That is Wonder Woman, to a T. Also, the lasso of truth thing. This should have been a nitpick, to be honest. It only works if you want to talk. Barry, unless he's answering a question from Wonder Woman, there's no reason for him to say that shit. There's not the lasso of truth. You have to tell the truth. It doesn't compel you to speak.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now I see what you're saying. Yeah, so it doesn't just make you start saying anything because otherwise you could say anything. Yes, that's a good point.
Again, I'm sorry. It's a little nitpick, but I was just
it's a decently humorous scene.
Yes, I know.
In its typical way.
When Ben Affleck answers the question from Wonder Woman, he says, "No, I'm too proud to ever say thank you or whatever." That's fine because he's answering Wonder Woman in a truthful way. But then of course he starts talking about childhood trauma and if I wanted to erase crime, I should just erase poverty or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, which, again, is true. And that's what people say about Batman, of course, the joke about Batman. But yeah, there's no reason why he'd start saying it. I get the comedy, but it's still a nitpick. Anyway, Barry Allen revisits his childhood home where he lived with his parents Nora and Henry before Henry's wrongful imprisonment for Nora's murder. He does this, of course, because his dad said, he's not getting out of jail, so he goes back to his house. And, I was like, I like this, the emotional, trauma that he has. I think, the conversation with his dad is well done. And, I can understand everything,
Yeah, this is a perfectly good motivation.
Yes.
For, and that's the thing, there are, things in this movie where if it was part of, a wider universe that we cared about and a character we cared about and lots of other stuff was better, this would be good. You can take some of this stuff and get a pretty good movie out of it. You would just need to build up to it in a bit more of a satisfying way. But this idea if he wants to go back in time to solve this problem, it makes sense.
And so on the day of her death, of course, Nora sent Henry to the grocery store for a can of tomatoes that she forgot to buy. Imagine going to the grocery store just for a can of tomatoes. Maybe that should have been a nitpick.
Well, Americans, they love driving. Any excuse.
Good point. Leaving her alone in the kitchen. Okay, this is where it gets stupid. Right, resulting in her being killed by an unidentified assailant. It's
a bit weird that they, and I know probably I assume other people pointed out, but the fact he has no interest in actually solving the question of who murdered her.
Yes, that is stupid as well, but let's just talk about the murder in the first place. It's so stupid. This woman was just randomly stabbed in broad daylight in her suburban kitchen. Come on. The Wayne murders are feasible. She's just in her kitchen, it's, the afternoon, it's sunny and it's bright, it's just a normal day. And somebody walks into her house and just stabs her. What? Well, no, in a peaceful suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, this is a fantasy for the home defense Americans who love guns.
Yeah. Again, what happened to the Wayne family, Bruce? What's his dad called again?
Thomas?
Yeah.
Thomas Wayne?
And Martha Wayne, when they're killed, of course, that makes sense somewhat. But yeah, overcome by emotions, Barry accidentally uses the Speed Force to form. Okay, here we go. This is where the movie starts to fall apart. Do you know what that sphere is called, Michael?
Didn't you say it was called the Chrome something?
Yeah, the Chrono Bowl.
Chrono Bowl.
What a... And travel back in time earlier in the day. Okay, this sounds, stupid, and indeed it is stupid. It was a decent start to the movie, but then you start introducing things like the Chrono Bowl, which it sounds stupid, and it looks stupid, and it is stupid. It's just stupid. It's going to fall apart, Michael. I'm sorry. As soon as he gets in that Chrono Bowl, that's when the movie goes downhill for me. I don't know. You said you don't really agree with that.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, I think, again, it just becomes entertaining, I suppose, in the sense of, I'm just like, okay, well, stuff's happening. Again, for me, if I look past the fact that I'm annoyed by the attempt to mimic the other MCU and the Marvel thing and all that kind of stuff, I'm just like, okay, yeah, whatever, this is fine. So, and also I will say, I didn't find, like I already said, I don't find Ezra Miller that annoying in this film because of the context being it's a silly situation. I don't find
the original Barry Allen annoying. It's the other Barry Allen, which I find annoying. Again, like I said, I like the start. I don't think he's that annoying at the start, Barry Allen. It's the younger version of him, which is very annoying. So obviously he goes back in time and he tells Bruce Wayne this. And despite Bruce's warning of time travel's unintended consequences, Barry then time travels and places the can of tomatoes in Nora's car at the store so that his father will not have to leave the house. Okay, so he doesn't interact with his parents, but he still alters things quite significantly, of course. That's the thing. He seems to think things will be fine instead of knowing they won't be. Do you understand what I mean? I was expecting him to be like, no, sorry, I don't care about the consequences. I want my...
No, yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
I want my parents back. I want my mom to be alive, and I don't want my dad in jail. But instead, he's like, no, I can get away with this. This is fine. I mean, you're still altering the past, and again, for him, in a quite significant way. So I don't understand how, after Bruce gave that, talk to him, how all of a sudden, no, I think this is fine just because I'm not interacting with my parents.
Again, a lot of this movie, I guess the actions feel kind of unmotivated. There's not a satisfying sense of, when you actually think, well, why are all these things happening, and what's the thought process behind them? You're like, so wait, hold on a minute, did Ezra Miller literally, or, Barry Allen literally just go into this, I'll just do this, whatever, without thinking it through. Yeah, I agree, that's definitely missing.
So as Barry returns to the present, he is knocked out of the Chrono Bowl by an unknown speedster and ends up in 2013, where Nora is alive. Again, we don't ever see, we do see who does this, but he never, brings it up at all, does he?
No, yeah. That's the thing, I was thinking that, they introduce this as almost a mystery, and then he just forgets about it.
Yes.
And I was thinking, that's going to be some kind of villain. Admittedly, I was thinking to myself, oh god, this guy looks CGI, whatever, it's going to be a terrible villain. I'm kind of almost glad that the villain ends up being, somebody who just shows up right at the end and barely even functions as a villain.
Yes, exactly.
But, still, it's ridiculous that he doesn't appear until later on.
Yeah,
or, doesn't get mentioned until
exactly.
On.
Yeah, he doesn't get mentioned. This. Why have I been knocked out in 2013 on the same day that I'm meant to get my powers?
Oh yeah. I was thinking that too. Just the fact that
what a coincidence.
From his perspective, yeah, exactly. It must be a massive coincidence. And of course, in a way, I guess it's good to know that it's not a coincidence because obviously there is a reason for it. But it's ridiculous that he doesn't think to himself, well, what's the reason for this?
Yes, exactly. He should be thinking, wait, I got knocked out of the Chrono Bowl by something, I don't know what it was, and this thing brought me back to the exact day that I'm, that I get my powers. Something's going on here, but no, that he never ever considers that or talks about that. Okay, this is one of the issues with time travel, okay, and I think this has been brought up before. So Barry Allen has the ability to travel backwards in time because he can go faster than the speed of light, right?
Yes.
How can he travel forward in time by going faster than the speed of light?
I don't know. They should have a mechanic where he has to moonwalk or something. Because you're right. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, because
or maybe you can determine the direction within the chromo things if you turn around in the chromo thing. But I don't think we see him do that.
Well, it doesn't make sense though. Just from what power does he have? He doesn't have the power to get into this chromo bowl. He has the power.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To go back in time. that's what he has the power to do because he can go faster than the speed of light.
But like, there's the thing where like, if you travel forward in time, sorry, if you travel really, really fast, then
You
the
can go
world
back in
around you. Well, no, actually, you can go forward in time, but faster than everything else because well, you know, the physics of it don't really matter. But yeah, so basically, you know how like space-time is technically one singular dimension?
Yes.
Basically, it means that if you're traveling through space really quickly, then you're actually traveling through time slower, meaning everyone else around you is relative to you traveling through time faster. So if you like travel like close to the speed of light, it's also, you know, like in Interstellar, where like this whole thing about like
okay. So
you know,
so
gravity
yes.
warps and time changes and stuff like that.
So if you don't travel beyond the speed of light, but you travel just short of the speed of light,
You
then
go forward.
You can go forward in time.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe the logic within this, it doesn't explain it, so it doesn't count, but, you know, let's make up logic. Maybe the logic is if you go beyond the speed of light, then it starts going backwards, but, you know, it doesn't say that.
Yes. No, okay, so that does make sense. Yes, of course. Like, you can... Yeah.
Of course, also, if he was going beyond the speed of light, he would literally be, like, circumnavigating the entire globe in, like, a second.
Yes.
Because the speed of light is really fast.
Well, that's the thing. This I don't know what the fuck this chroma bowl thing is. Like, how does he get to it? Like, where does it exist? And again, we're getting into the minutiae of this, and again, we're thinking about it, but we kind of have to because the movie puts so much emphasis on it. The chroma bowl is so important to the story. Time travel is so important to the story. So therefore, we have to, you know, like almost nitpick it, but it's not nitpicking because it's again central to this whole fucking plot working. So yeah, like okay, I guess it could work if he travels almost to the speed of light, but not quite. Then he could go forward in time. But again, like where is he going when he's going forward in time? Is he just running around the Earth constantly? I guess.
Yeah.
Is that what he's doing? But no.
Yeah, or like into some other dimension, I guess. But
okay. Oh, another issue with the chroma bowl. Like, how come he can get out of this bowl at the grocery store? You know, where he never was. You know, it was just his mom there, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that work? I don't know. Maybe, so he can go through all of time and space. Is that what he's saying? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah, because you'd think it's either or. You either travel through time or space, and if you're just traveling through time, you just travel to where you were.
Yeah, but going through time and space, that's like an insane power to have.
Yeah.
You could
just go anywhere.
You can go anywhere in the world instantly. Anywhere in the universe instantly. That's it's ridiculous. So, yeah, and again, you could have that power, but, you know, that doesn't appear to be the case, you know. Anyways, so Barry encounters his parents, his past self, and realizes that this is the day he originally obtained his powers. So this other Barry, okay, I've said he's really annoying, and that's true. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, he saves his, you know, mother, and that means he grows up to be even more obnoxious, I guess. That's the lesson. So, you know,
yeah, don't save your mum, kids.
Yeah, otherwise you'll just be a really, you know, a real annoying prick, I guess. And you know, at least he's like more well adjusted, I guess, but still, yeah, I don't know if that's why did they make him so annoying? Why is it just to contrast him with the, you know, older Barry Allen? Is that it? Is that
to make regular Barry Allen seem, you know, nice by comparison.
Yes, I guess so. Yes, Ezra Miller is already, you know, somebody because of his controversies. You know, people don't like. And again, it's funny that we pointed this out. You now have two Ezra Millers. You know, it's so funny. Of all the superhero storylines that have existed over the past, you know, decade and a bit since the Marvel movies, of course. The MCU movies and the DCEU movies. This is the only superhero movie I can think of, correct me if I'm wrong, where there's two of the same character. So that means two of the same actor in a plot like this. And it just so happens that, you know, you get double the Ezra Millers, and Ezra Miller is the actor who, of course, has been in the most controversy, so you definitely cannot cut him at all.
This is the one thing we didn't want to happen.
Yes, you cannot recast him. Of all the superhero storylines, it was this actor who was in the movie twice throughout the movie, and it means you're screwed. And like you said, Michael, it's the one thing we didn't want to happen. Imagine Warner Brothers hearing the news about Ezra Miller's exploits, shall we say?
Yes.
What he's been accused of, and just like, oh fuck, damn it! Why couldn't this have been Gal Gadot? You know?
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you, why couldn't it have been Gal Gadot? She's hot.
Oh yeah, good point.
So if she did all this stuff, it would be okay.
Yeah, why couldn't it have been?
I'd let her abduct me.
All right, that's great. Yeah, why couldn't it have been Jason Momoa? Because we can cut him out of the movie, but if we have to fucking there's two Ezra Millers. Oh, damn it. I guess it's justice somewhat for making such a bad movie.
Yeah.
And that's the real Justice League. I guess.
You get what you fucking deserve, says
yes.
Joker.
So in order to make sure his past self gains superpowers, the two Barrys go to the police department in Central City, where Barry reenacts the events for 2013 Barry to be struck by lightning. So I don't get why he needs to do this, or why he needs to get this Barry to have powers. Because he knows...
Yeah, he already knows he has the powers himself, so it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because he exists in a different reality, which he is not meant to be a part of this reality, but he exists in it. So why
usually superheroes are like, oh, my power's kind of a curse. But I like how he's just like, nope, I love it. Yeah,
well, yeah, he wants the other Barry to get powers. I'm not sure who you talk about, the older Barry or the younger.
I'm talking about the older Barry wants. So I'm just saying, like, like he obviously really loves it.
Well, yeah, he thinks he needs the younger Barry to get powers.
Oh yeah, so that he can so that he can time travel, because otherwise. But yeah, obviously it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Well, this Barry is not. It's not the same guy. It's fine to give him powers, of course. That can still work. But why is there this necessity? The implication seems to be that older Barry thinks that if younger Barry does not get his powers, then older Barry will cease to exist. But they're not the same person. Like, they are different people in this same reality that he is. Like, he's not in the same reality as he was before. That right there.
Yeah, like that's it. Like he already knows he's a different person.
Yeah. So
like he's already going to cease to exist because he's going to be a different version of himself, whereas Mum's alive.
Yes. So, but that's the thing. I don't think he is going to cease to exist.
Yeah.
I don't think he is. So anyway. Of course, they both end up getting struck by lightning, giving 2013 Barry powers. That's what he's called, by the way, 2013 Barry. But causing Barry to lose his own. Older Barry loses his own powers, which, surely if he lost his own powers, he'd die. I don't know. Yeah, and again, I don't know how it works, how you can lose your powers. Just the fucking lightning shouldn't affect you. I'm not sure. Look, again, it's just comic book bullshit, but whatever. It, of course, means that older Barry has to train younger Barry on using his powers, and then they learn General Zod is preparing to invade Earth. In an effort to fight Zod, the Barrys attempt to assemble the Justice League, but are unsuccessful. They travel to Wayne Manor, hoping to find Bruce, but instead find an alternate variant who has long retired. Bruce theorizes that using time travel to alter history... We'll talk about Michael Keaton in a bit, by the way.
Yeah.
But first, let's get onto the timeline stuff, because... Again, this is what I had a problem with. He says, Bruce, that time travel alters history, and that affects both prior events and events after the alteration. Okay, look, we have the "that's not how time works" cliche. That's not how time travel works. Okay, but I'm sorry, like time doesn't change in the past if you change the future. The whole fulcrum argument is so stupid. Again, it's just a justification to get Michael Keaton in this movie, like a different Batman, and like a female Superwoman, that's redundant. A female
Superman.
Yeah, a female Kryptonian who's on their side, who's a good female Kryptonian. Yeah, I don't like how much we are talking about time travel, because of course it's stupid, but I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense that the past would change, and we've been through this. He gets out the two spaghetti strings, and he's like, "You think time is like this? There's an alternate timeline, but it's not. No, it's a fulcrum." And I'm like, "No, why is it a fulcrum? Why is there an X?"
Yeah, I also like how it says theorizes in the Wikipedia thing, but like in the actual film, it's like he just knows this.
Yeah, like this is like given as facts, and of course it makes sense given everything has changed. Of course, older Barry, is arguing about who played. That Marty McFly in Back to the Future.
Yes. Although, so the movie Back to the Future still exists. It was just played by different people. In fact, he mentions like several movies. They all still exist, just different people.
Yeah, exactly. And that is... So, the point is, like, how do things prior to 2003 affect... How are they affected by this? How? Because the future or time has already happened. You understand? So that's the thing. This fulcrum thing, Bruce is like, oh, time doesn't work like this. No. Time doesn't work how this movie is portraying, and that's why every other single movie doesn't have this stupid like fulcrum thing, Yeah. Because it makes no sense.
No, yeah, like exactly. Like they didn't add it in because of logic. They added it in because like they needed the logic to produce the movie or the results in the movie that they needed for like what they decided. Like Yeah, it's not based on logic. It's just based on what they wanted the story to be saying.
Yeah, again.
It's ridiculous.
They wanted Michael Keaton back as Batman. Well, okay, the past needs to be changed. But, how do we change the past if Barry Allen is just changing something that happened in 2003? How is the whole of time changed? Well, we'll make up this ridiculous explanation about how if you change something in the year 2003, that also somehow changes everything that happened beforehand. So they convince, of course, Bruce to return as Batman to help them find Superman. And of course, he says no at first. Did you like it when he suits up Michael Keaton? He's like, I'm Batman, and it's got epic music playing in the background.
Yeah, they have a few references to the 89 movie.
Yeah, but
like the classic "Let's Get Nuts."
Yes, but in both those cases, he doesn't really go. Well, he's not really enthusiastic. Is Michael Keaton?
No, yeah.
He's like, I'm Batman. Da-da-da. Yeah, and then when he says "Let's get nuts," it's like, you want to get nuts? Well, let's get.
I bet
nuts.
like the writer when he wrote it, like the script writer was like, yes, this is great, and then he like told Michael Keaton about it, so he was so excited, and Michael Keaton was like, okay, fine, yeah, I'll do it.
That was the best take. That line that is in the trailer, and I remember seeing that in the trailer, thinking, my God, that's a pathetic delivery. Just no like juice to it, no like intensity. Just, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And again, Michael Keaton is 71 years old, so again, I can understand that this Batman might not have a lot of juice left, but at least it's crazy. That was the best take. I think for a lot of people, Michael Keaton is their favorite Batman. Maybe he's still the number one Batman. Is he the best Batman ever, Michael? That is the question.
Yes.
Or is it Robert Pattinson?
I didn't like the Robert Pattinson movie. Well, someday we'll review it and I'll talk about that.
Yeah, the sequel coming out in 2025. Can't wait.
Yay.
But Michael Keaton is maybe the most legendary Batman because of those first two movies, and it's just quite a sad end for this character.
Yeah, that's true. They ruined it.
Yeah, that is a case with these legacy sequels, and I guess this is kind of a legacy sequel to that character, or for that character. And yeah, often in legacy sequels, like these characters, which were heroes, which everybody loved, and are now just like pathetic shells of themselves. And again, this Batman, of course, he does show his skills when he's fighting those Russians in Siberia. But like that, he just seems so unenthusiastic about being Batman. And then of course, he dies over and over again, trying to kill Kal-El. Oh no, not Kal-El, fucking Zod. Sorry.
Yeah.
Got my Kryptonians mixed up. So yeah, the Baryons locate a Kryptonian pod in Siberia. Upon arrival, they find Kal-El's cousin, Kal-Zor-El, in the facility. So the thing is, all this is spoiled in the trailer, by the way. Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking, because you see Michael Keaton, of course, he has long hair, and then you see his face. It's like, you can't tell it's Michael Keaton at first because of his long hair. But of course, that was spoiled.
What a twist that we all knew about.
Yes, that was spoiled in the trailer. So initially, I think it was filmed because it was filmed like that because they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do a Spider-Man No Way Home reveal. In the movie, it's going to be like, oh, wow, it's Michael Keaton, just like, oh, wow, it's Andrew Garfield, or oh, wow, it's Tobey Maguire. But, of course, I think they knew that they had to market the shit out of this movie, otherwise nobody was going to see it because of the Ezra Miller controversies. Nobody cares about The Flash, so they're like, no, we gotta put Michael Keaton in this movie. And also, we gotta put Supergirl in the trailer for this movie. Everyone knew this was going to happen, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I didn't really watch the trailers. You won't be surprised to hear. And overall, I mean, I still knew, like, even having not watched the trailers, I still knew it was coming. It still wasn't a surprise. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I wasn't very satisfied.
Well, the thing is, people pointed this out with the trailers, and you can even see with the logo. People were pointing out, or people were saying, is this a Flash movie? Because there was so much, of the marketing was to do with Batman and Supergirl. And that was partially, I think, because of Ezra Miller. But yeah, it's that's what led me to say this, because it's like you're putting all these nice surprises in the movie and you're just ruining them in the trailer. Did the Marvel trailers have Tobey Maguire in the trailer, Michael, for Spider-Man No Way Home?
No, they didn't.
No, and
yeah, maybe what they were hoping is that people would be convinced it was a superhero movie, a Batman movie, and then when the Flash showed up, they'd be like, "What a surprise!"
Yeah, judging by the trailers, that's literally what maybe they were hoping for. So Kara flies Barry into a storm where he regains his powers. She the thing is, she comes back because she realizes Zod is evil, even though she knew that before.
Yeah.
So that's great. Pointless. Also, Zod is looking for her then he sees her, then he doesn't fly after her. So, because again, he's got some humans to fight first, which again he can defeat easily. So in the battle, Zod subdues and kills Kara, then extracts the codex from her blood. Meanwhile, Batman sacrifices himself in an unsuccessful attempt to destroy Zod's ship. Again, it's just, this whole battle, like,
yeah, that's exactly how he wanted to see Batman go out.
yes,
just a completely failing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just a pathetic end to this character. And let's talk about the battle, of course, because it's just the most ugly thing that you've ever seen. Like, the graphics are like PS2 worthy, and of course these clips went viral on Twitter. People be like, "Wow, how the hell does it look so bad?"
The good news is, I think by the time we got to this, I'd been like, I was like immune to it, because I remembered when I saw like the clips out of context, I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. When I actually watched the movie, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad, but I think it was 100% just because I was used to it.
Yes, the director said it was meant to look bad though, Michael, of course. So that's the excuse. But
yeah, good excuse.
The CGI is just shocking. It's terrible, and why does this battle take place like on a? It's like a, Minecraft, right? Yeah. So in Minecraft, you can build this, or you can generate this world which is just completely flat. To build whatever you want, and that I think is what they were battling on. There's just this flat Minecraft world, but instead it's meant to be in a desert. It's clearly they were like, well, this is the CGI. It's going to be so difficult to render all this, and it's going to be so difficult to make this look good. So let's just have like a completely flat, like colorless, like desert floor with just no, I guess, no hills. It's flat. Everything is so completely flat. So it's the CGI will be incredibly cheap. I think that. Do you think that's why they did it?
Yeah, I think so. Like they just decided, like just an empty plane, a void, because then they didn't have to like render, an actual environment.
Yeah, there's just no environment. I couldn't, again, when I saw it for the first time, I couldn't believe it. But again, I think the only thing that makes sense is, well, we don't want to spend too much money on CGI. We don't want to do that. So, okay, the environment then has to be completely flat, just, lifeless. The Barrys repeatedly time travel to save Batman and Kara, but keep failing.
Yeah, I love this bit.
Guess what? This is it isn't fun to see Michael Keaton die over and over, and it's not fun to see them fail over and over. But whatever, we've talked about that. Then we get to see the ugly Chromo thing appear again, and the thing is, I don't know why why aren't there more than two Barrys, Michael, in these battles? Because the Barrys keep going back in time and coming back to the battle. Surely there should be like multiple Barrys, because as we've already seen,
they could have even done a clever thing where it was like the Barrys, I don't know, somehow like you get what I'm saying? Like he intentionally duplicates the Barrys so that they can annoy the enemy to death.
I like that. Annoy, not just like beat them.
No, yeah.
Annoy them. Yeah.
It's like walk up to like making observations about life. What is brunch?
Yeah. The thing is, they don't become themselves because it's a new timeline. That's the thing. We have seen older Barry does not become younger Barry. He doesn't wake up and he's like 18 years old, and he doesn't have his powers. That doesn't happen. It's a new Barry entering this timeline, and also does nothing else in the timeline change either? Because they're
that's a good point. Yeah, they should be. Oh my god, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
are you suggesting this movie's inconsistent with its own logic?
Again, time travel doesn't work that way. Well, apparently it does here, because the Falcon thing, which Bruce Wayne explained before. Okay, so there should be new Zods, or there should be new scenarios. They should be going back in time to the start of the battle, and because they've gone back in time, and are changing stuff, well, that means the past should have changed as well, right? Which again doesn't make sense, but according to this movie, that's what should happen. So maybe they go back in time and Zod isn't there at all. Maybe Zod is already there and Earth has already been conquered. Or, maybe Michael Keaton is now George Clooney, which of course happens at the end of the movie.
Yes.
so maybe these things happen, but none of it happens because, again, they forgot their own logic.
Yeah, exactly. Or like it's just, I mean, let's be real, they didn't care about the logic in the first place.
Yeah, they didn't care. That is the case, obviously. Yes. So as 2013 Barry travels, the multiverse starts to implode, and of course that means we get cameos. Michael.
Oh yeah.
What a great excuse for these. What was your favorite shoved in, not at all shoehorned cameo?
Nicolas Cage.
Who is he fighting?
I can't remember who was fighting, like a giant spider or something.
Yeah, a giant spider, because that was originally meant to be in the Nicolas Cage Superman movie.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
That was the villain he wanted, so he got it. And then, of course, we see all these Spider-Man. We see Christopher Reeves. You know, just I can't imagine, like, because it is so shoehorned. I can't imagine like enjoying this in the cinema, watching this for the first time. And again, when I heard about it, because I didn't see the movie, and people were talking about this scene, just people couldn't believe how. People just couldn't believe how.
It's like cynical.
Yeah, cynical, unsubtle it was. Like, oh, you like cameos from older, superheroes? Well, how about this? Yeah.
It's kind of like gross, because obviously like it's like cynical, and that they're so obviously just ripping off the what Marvel do, but then they're actually doing of like these like real people who are dead.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it is a lot worse than what Marvel did, which is DC in a nutshell. To be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. So the unknown speedster who initially knocked Barry out of the Speed Force returns and is revealed to be an older future version of the 2013 Barry who still believes he can defeat Zod and save the Earth. He becomes angry when Barry reveals his intention to reverse the changes he made to the timeline by letting Nora die. The elder 2013 Barry attempts to kill Barry, but instead impales the young 2013 Barry, who sacrifices himself to save Barry and wipe his future self from the timeline. Did you get all that, Michael? Did you understand all that?
Yeah, although, again, so his past version is the past version of Barry, who was created by the original Barry, because let's say they're old, middle, and young, or whatever. So young Barry becomes old Barry in the future, but young Barry was only created by middle Barry going back in time, and yet for some reason when young Barry dies, that kills old Barry, even though old Barry was created from different, so should be on a complete different timeline. Like, none of the internal rules make sense. And, you do expect this stuff, like, should we point out, obviously you expect this stuff with time travel to some extent, and I think almost every single time travel movie will, at some point, contradict its own logic. But this movie just does it all the time, and it makes it quite difficult to feel the effect of like what the movie's trying to do with the time travel.
Yeah, this is what I pointed out, at the start. This is why I didn't like it, because it's like it's just so exhausting trying to work this out. And again, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And you can do time travel stuff, but it has to somewhat make sense. It does not make sense. Barry reverts the timeline and comes to terms with his mother's death. However, he subtly alters the past by moving the tomato can to a higher shelf. Barry attends Henry's court hearing, where the security footage now reveals Henry looking up to grab the tomato can, allowing for his exoneration. Tomato, whatever. So the thing is with this, Barry kind of learns not to change the past. It's bad to change the past, but you can do it a little, I guess. And of course,
which is of course kind of like the exact opposite to the logic of the butterfly effect. Like the whole point of the butterfly effect is, no, even a small thing can be a big change.
Yes. The thing is, nothing changes in his universe up to that point, or in his timeline up to that point, because of course everything's the same, and he has not yet released this evidence in court, of course, before he goes back in time at the start of the movie. So you could say, well, he's not actually changing the past at all. He's just changing what people will see in the future because of the CCTV footage. So that's different. But of course, if you change the past, like this movie says, in any way, that means you change even further in the past. You change the things more. There's like a knock-on effect. Again, going back to the Fulcrum thing, and of course that leads to Bruce Wayne being George Clooney.
Of course, naturally.
Now, again, so I guess the movie follows its own logic here, but surely more would change, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this scene's obviously supposed to just be a pure joke, but...
Yeah, no, but I know, but once again, the fact that he changed the past even a little bit, wouldn't that mean there's another Barry in this timeline?
Yeah.
Cause,
it should.
Yeah, I mean, because he does change the past, again, the consequences are a little, but as this movie says, it's not about, like, the consequences or whatever, it's about if you change the past at all, that just naturally creates a different timeline, even something as subtle as moving, a tomato can. Because how does the universe measure what deserves a new timeline and what doesn't deserve a new timeline? How does, unless just the only standard is, does something change? Okay, something does change. That means things are different. That means there should be a new Barry. That means again there should be two Barrys when Barry goes back to the present day. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. Again, this. Let's conclude on Michael. I've spent enough time talking about fucking time travel.
Yeah.
And this is what this movie forces you to do. But go on, you conclude first.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting movie, and like I say, there's no real reason to care about it. I think definitely the movie's very lazy, and I think that's a lot of the explanation for why there's no logic to it. Like, they were just like, well, we just got to have this happen, so it's time travel. I guess, like, that's one of the things about it, like, the cynical aspect. You kind of get the impression they viewed time travel as just a way to make anything they wanted to happen, which, of course, means that the things that do happen don't really have any kind of effect, because, like, well, why is that happening? The goofiness of it is entertaining, and to be honest, like, in a way, I guess when I say that I didn't hate this movie, it's like if I had to sit down and watch, like, any DCEU movie, this movie might end up being quite high towards the top, just because I'd be like, yeah, stuff happens. It's not, I don't know. I guess it is annoying, but for some reason it just doesn't annoy me as much. I think, like, it doesn't annoy me as much because it's not trying to be serious. Like, movies like the Batman v Superman and Justice League annoy me more because, that they're kind of trying to be a bit more serious. Overall, it's not good.
Is it not?
I'm gonna give it a low 4, which is probably not as bad as the movie could get. But yeah, for me, it's just a low 4 because.
Yeah.
Oh no, fuck it, no. High 3. I'll knock it down one more. I'm just thinking, yeah. But there we go. It's not good, but it's not terrible.
Okay, so a high 3 for you. Yeah, I think this movie, gets a 3 out of 10 for me. Because again, at the start was fine, and there are some the movie could have been good. It could have, if it's. I say the movie could have been good, but I think there is an interesting motivation from the main character, Barry Allen. He wants to save his mother. That he can go back in time. You can do something with that, and this movie just goes in a direction which I just would not have wanted to go in. Like, it's an awful direction to go in. There is so much time travel stupidity. The Chrono Bowl, I don't like that. Again, and we talk so much about all this time travel stuff, and it's just annoying to talk about, really, because you don't really want to talk about this kind of stuff. You don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of time travel, because in general I don't find that, like, interesting, but you're kind of forced to do it because, like, the rules that this movie again makes new time travel rules, which I have not seen in any other movie prior to this one. So you're kind of forced to talk about it, and then we have to call it out for its inconsistency. And of course, time travel is this whole that the whole plot is based on this time travel concept. So yeah. Also, Barry Allen, the younger one, is very annoying. 2 Ezra Millers, is not good. 1 Ezra Miller is probably more than enough. Now you have 2. Well, that's not good. And you've made the second one even more annoying. Yeah, that is it's not a recipe for those enjoyable scenes. Again, they're going to be comedic. I get it, but it's just annoying more than funny. Maybe some people find that different. But yeah, overall, I think 3 out of 10 is a fair rating. So yeah, not a good end for the DCEU. But the question is, Michael, I say it's not a good end. Of course, there's one more movie, which is Aquaman. Actually, first let's talk about Wonka, because it got 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, last week we guessed its score on Rotten Tomatoes. You guessed 76, I guessed 75, which means I am now winning by 18 instead of 19. So you, again, the lower score is better. You have a score of 83. I have a score of 65. So yeah, my 65 is better, which means, of course, you're going to have to guess 19 different than me.
Yeah, it's almost like I might as well, I think we'll probably end up with a situation where whatever you pick, just for sportsmanship, I'll end up going 19 away.
No, that's what we did last year.
Okay, good. Okay, so basically it's higher or lower for me, essentially.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I'm just going to tell you what I think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is going to get on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's going to get, let's say, 68% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So I've got to go 49?
Yeah, or you can go higher, of course.
I don't think it's going to go higher. I'm going to guess 49.
Okay, 49.
I'm just trying to think, is there any possibility? So wait, what would be 19 above? What did you say? 68?
Yes.
Oh no, it's not going to get, no, okay. I'm safer assuming it will be lower.
Yes, again, I think it's probably going to be high 60s, low 70s. That would make sense. So yes, so if it's 49 or less, then you win. If it's 50 or higher, I win. So yeah, I've got. I just have to hope it's not an absolute disaster, this Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I don't. It's very rare for superheroes to be that bad, but I guess this one could be. God, please don't let me down, Jason Momoa. Don't do it. So what are we reviewing next time, Michael?
Well, next week we're reviewing speaking of absolute disasters, we're going to be reviewing Schindler's List, which is actually about a big disaster that happened.
Yeah.
So, let's be serious.
Yeah, let's be serious there.
For Christmas.
Yeah, a nice Christmas holiday festive movie.
Yeah.
Schindler's
Well,
List.
let's just say the people involved in this movie didn't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, well, some of them did. The bad ones. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Join us for that next time. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening. And this has been our review of The Flash. And goodbye.
Goodbye.